How deeply your guilt is for setting up boundaries directly reflects how deeply you were trained to abandon yourself for the peace. Hi, I'm Nikki Steinhauer. I'm a spiritual consultant, intuitive energy healer, and Reiki master. And I was honored as the best intuitive energy healing in Maryland of 2025. Let me elaborate on this profound statement for just a minute by breaking down its key components and explaining the deep psychological connection between boundary-related guilt and self-abandonment patterns. The intensity of the guilt that we feel when setting boundaries often directly mirrors how deeply we were conditioned in childhood to put others' needs before our own. And this conditioning typically occurs through family patterns and modeling, where children often learn boundary patterns from their parents or their caregivers, which can significantly impact their adult behaviors. If they grew up in an environment where their needs were consistently overlooked for family peace, they internalize this as normal behavior. When it comes to cultural and family expectations, many families treat their cultural norms almost like a religion, where maintaining peace and meeting family expectations takes precedence over individual needs. And this creates a deep-seated pattern of self-abandonment for the sake of harmony. And this in turn leads to a cycle of self-abandonment as well as people-pleasing tendencies as a survival strategy. People-pleasing behavior often develops as a coping mechanism where individuals will suppress their own needs and desires in favor of others. They may associate their self-worth with how much they please others. And they may experience significant mental health issues, including anxiety and depression from constant self-neglect. The cost of peacekeeping is very, very, very high. The drive to maintain peace often comes at a severe personal cost. This cost is experiencing profound emptiness and disconnection from your true self. The constant stress of meeting others' expectations can erode your self-identity. And people who consistently abandon themselves often attract relationships that exploit their tendency to say yes. So what do you need to understand about boundary-related guilt? What people don't talk about is the guilt experience when setting boundaries and how it often is multi-layered. And it's crucial to understand that while you may feel guilty for setting boundaries, you are not responsible for others' emotional reactions to your boundaries. The presence of guilt when setting boundaries can actually be interpreted as a sign of growth, really indicating that you're challenging old patterns and developing healthier ones. And to address this deep-rooted connection between guilt and self-abandonment, several therapeutic approaches can help. This can come as reframing your thoughts, learning to view boundaries as giving something valuable to yourself, like peace and balance, rather than taking something away from other people. It can help you in building self-worth by developing healthy self-esteem. It involves consistently valuing yourself and not basing self-worth on external factors. Professional help can be beneficial in processing trauma and rewiring maladaptive responses, developing self-awareness and agency, as well as learning to practice self-compassion and setting healthy boundaries. The path to living an authentic life is by first understanding that boundary setting is an act of self-respect and self-care, and it is crucial. The journey involves recognizing that boundaries are not just barriers. They are guidelines that protect your emotional, your physical, and your mental well-being. It involves learning to prioritize yourself, your personal needs without feeling guilty. It also involves developing compassionate communication while remaining firm in your decisions. So remember, the depth of guilt you feel when setting boundaries is not a sign that you're doing something wrong. It is a reflection, a mirroring of how thoroughly you were conditioned to put others first. And recognizing this connection is the first step towards healing and establishing healthier patterns of self-care and boundary setting. Happy healing, everyone.